toppy. And again, we can all bunch in around this. In fact, I'll get on this side so you all can gather in. A couple things I'd like to look at. This is going to take a little bit of close look. Yeah. So there's 2 different species in here that we're going to investigate. And admittedly, a bunch of this is a mess, but we're going to talk about a couple features. So, take a look at. Can everybody see this track right here? Mm-hmm. Okay. See this toe? Mm-hmm. Oh, we just got it a little more. There we go. There's a little bit of something.
Sorry.
No, that's great. So there it is. Is this a round, more bulbous toe, or is it more stretched out? It's stretched out, so it's elongate. And you can actually see here, even though it is pretty flat track, it's not a deep track, you can see some of this connection back to this pad. Now I want to look at this pad real quick. Take a look at this pad. See how it's just sort of smooth and flat all the way up the top? You can kind of see it smooth and flat down the back. Just something to keep in mind. Now, we'll look up here at this track. Take a look at these. Are these really teardropped and bulbous, or are they more cigar-shaped and long? You know, great, cool. Take a look at this pad. See how it's smooth and flat? There's not a whole lot of protruding detail. It's just like if I slapped my hand down onto the ground. Okay, raccoon or otter? Raccoon. Right on. So there's a number of raccoons in here. However, if we look into here, take a look. Right away, we start this. These are very difficult tracks, but we start seeing a couple things. See this really? It's got a rounder, more bulbous appearance. A little bit of teardrop shape, and then there's something interesting happening with the toe pads. We can see a fingery appearance, but it has that look like the skeletal structure is arching up towards the sky and diving back down towards the tips, and you're seeing this really interesting shape, like, oops, that didn't work at all, like this. See that? We're beginning to see that. That is more of a classic otter appearance. Now, raccoons can get some of this going on, but there's a few other things we want to stack. Now take a look here. Remember how we described all these smooth pads? Take a look here at these really weird sort of bulbous protruding pads. It's sharper pads that push deeper into the ground, much like a musselid. They are like mink or otter feet. We're seeing some of this. There's another thing to look at. Again, so right off the bat, here's a heel pad. Is that smooth, or is that more kind of separated and bulbous? Separated and bulbous. Now check this out. This is kind of cool. How many toes right here? 4 toes.
But there's another.
And then there's another. Now, raccoons can have that 5th toe that is offset down to the side. We've been talking about that, right? But it is attached way, if you look at the palm pads of an otter, or tracks of an otter, sorry, let me grab my sheet real quick. Take a look. This is kind of neat. So, take a look at the palm pad of a raccoon. See, here's our dropped toe here on this right hind. Take a look at the shapes of these pads. It's this kind of blocky appearance, meaty, and that pad is attached. It is dropped down low, but look at the space difference between, you know, between the thumb and this first finger here, as opposed to our otters that have this very strange, more protruding bulbous pads that drop way down, and that thumb is connected here, and look at the space here. It is much harder for a raccoon to create a track that looks like this. See our 4 toes here? Yeah. And that toe dropped way down to the inside. That is something that screams otter very, very quickly. And then when we apply some of our other things, take a look. Is that a nice, smooth, weird, meaty palm, or is that weird protruding pads? Cool. Who is this? That is an otter. And which foot is that?
Right.
Right? Hind. Great. Right, yeah. And remembering again, this is kind of neat. Remember that, like the raccoons, these 2 toes opposite each other, even arc of toes, as opposed to this four-toed canine shape. This one's a little weird because it's just a funny track, but still we've got our kind of canine shape here, and then that toe dropped far out and down into the inside. Very cool. Very tough otter tracks. And just since this is here and because these were tough, it's worth mentioning that the first group that was evaluated here with the Cybertracker evaluations in North America was in 2005 with Texas Parks and Wildlife, with biologists. And Jonah later did his master's work on looking at on observer reliability, and what he studied was this long-standing river otter track census study that Fish and Wildlife had been doing, or Parks and Wildlife in Texas had been doing for a long time, and they took all their biologists out and evaluated them on all kinds of things, including a bunch of tracks like this. And what basically came out of the wash from that experience was that all of that data was worthless.
Wow.
Because they just weren't recognizing there was tons of false positives.